Hey YouTube, I just thought we might want to go over the basics of a pressure canner. This is a sealed one. This is the most likely one that most of you are going to purchase for the first time. I wouldn't go out and purchase a great big huge one until I found I enjoyed doing it and I was getting the results I expected. So normally these little Prestos you can find, and I've got the box up there. It is a 16-quart pressure cooker that was purchased used. I think I paid $20 for it. So what you have is you have a lid, you have a weight, you have a seal, a bottom plate, and if you don't have this, you can use a trivet in the bottom. Just get one of those like cooling racks. So don't worry if the pressure cooker you buy at a yard sale doesn't have that. This is the most important, this and the seal. And even the seal you can buy a replacement. And then your pot. So the way the pressure canner works is you have to have something on the bottom to raise the cans, the jars off the bottom. That's your only purpose for that. Because if the jars sit on the bottom, they will crack from the heat of the stove. The next thing you have is your seal. Now remember, when you're done using your pressure canner, please take this out and wash it and then put it back in. Okay, I leave mine out and just throw it in the pot. That way I don't have to worry about it stretching or cracking because moisture was under this rim when I closed it up. And then I just push the seal in. And sorry about the video, I'm trying to do this one-handed without a tripod. Okay, so you put your seal in. What you have here is your pressure valve. What happens when your lid goes under pressure, this will pop up and that'll lock in your pressure. This little thing here is an emergency valve. If your pressure canner overheats, this will blow out instead of blowing your lid off. So that is your valve that when that raises up, it tightens up and stops the pressure from coming out. This stem is where you put your weight balance. And so there's your weight balance, and you just set it on once you've let it vent for 10 minutes. And venting is simply letting the water boil inside and steam will escape from here. After it's been 10 minutes, what it does is it takes all the air out of the pressure canner and gives you a really good seal so that you can actually pressure can your vegetables inside. And this is your pressure dial. And as you can see, whoops, holding it sideways, it has the different pressure weights. So depending on your altitude is where you're going to set it. Normally, if you're below, I think it's 2,000 feet, most things are going to be between 10 and 15. You can also use this for just cooking food, but I don't. I just use it for pressure canning. If you have a weight, if you're using the Presto and you have a weight like this, it's very important that your pressure gauge is accurate. So if you buy a really old one, you might want to look online and you can just simply replace that. If we turn it over, you can see it's simply a nut. So they're really easy to replace. Also, when you're going to pressure can, you want to, where's my valve? You want to make sure you can see air through that piece. Okay? So you want my arms in the way, there we go. You want to make sure you see light through that piece. And that tells you it's not plugged. Okay? Then you simply put your jars in. You put 2 inches of water in here first. So about to there. And I always put a tablespoon of vinegar because it's horrible when the minerals cook out and you get these white jars and you have to spend that time wiping them off. It will not hurt the food. It will simply make the jars cloudy on the outside only. So once you do that, you put your water in, then you put your jars in, And then you're going to put your lid on your lid. You have a mark there and a mark on the handle. So you're going to line up your V's and the lid will sit down. And then you just simply pull your handle closed and your pressure canner is locked. At this point, that's when you would be on the stove and heating it up. I normally start at high heat. Once pressure is reached, then I lower it. So I'm going to put this on the stove until the steam starts coming out from here, and I'm going to let it steam for 10 minutes. At that point in time, this dial may go up to maybe 1 pound of pressure, if anything, but usually it won't do much. After that 10 minutes is reached, then you're going to take your little weight and you're going to drop it on top. When you do that, then your pressure gauge is going to slowly start to climb. As it starts to get close to, say we're going to 10 pounds of pressure, as it starts to get close, usually 1 notch before the 10 pounds, I start reducing the temperature on my stove. When you put this on and the pressure starts to climb, this little thing is going to make lots of noise and water is going to come out of it a little bit, and then it's going to pop up. At that point, the water will stop coming out. The gauge will probably be around 4 pounds of pressure at that point, 3 pounds. And then when you start to get to 10, you start reducing your temperature. I normally go from, on my stove there's 9 places, so I go from 9 to like 4. But I do it slowly. I'll go from 9 to 7 to 6 to 5 to 4. And just maintaining that pressure. But the minute you get to that pressure, you start your timer. When it reaches 10, because we're saying we're doing 10 pounds of pressure. So the minute it reaches that 10, you're going to start your timer. And depending on your recipe and your pressure canner, it could be 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 75 minutes, 90 minutes. The average you'll find is, for meats, is 75 minutes for pints or 90 minutes for quarts. Let's go ahead and get some jars and show you. Okay, so that is a quart jar. I'm going to get one other kind for you if I have it. And I don't. I wanted to show you, oh yeah, I do. I have one in the sink. Getting ready for my chili. Okay, we have 3 jars here. This one is a pint. It is a wide mouth pint. You can also buy pints with small mouth. So let me turn these sideways so you can see the difference. Okay, I like to buy the wide mouth jars. And the reason I like to buy the wide mouth jars is because you can put anything in a wide mouth. You can't put anything in a narrow. And that way, if you try to standardize, then you can buy your Tattler lids, which are reusable, and you only have to buy one size. So that's what I recommend, but sometimes you just can't find the wide mouths, and you're in the middle of something and you've got to buy the small ones. I store the small round metal lids for my narrow mouths because I have so many of my wide mouth. Now here is a quart wide mouth and narrow mouth. Okay? And as you can see, the problem with the narrow mouth are these ridges. If I wanted to do meatloaf, I would never be able to get it out of there. Whereas this one, when you process the meatloaf, it's going to shrink a little and the grease is going to be on the outside of it. And that little baby will almost slide perfectly out of there. So I always stick with a wide mouth. Plus, if you put whole chicken breasts in there, without tearing them up, it is a bear to get them out. So, and I do it with the bones. So a wide mouth is just a better option. So if you're just starting out, I would search for wide mouth jars and not the normal ones. And so then once this 75 or 90 minutes, so it would be 75 minutes for this one, 90 minutes for this one. Once that's done, you're going to just turn off the heat and you're going to leave it alone. You're not going to touch anything. You're not going to take this off. You're just going to leave it set. And slowly your gauge will start dropping. Once your gauge completely drops and this little nipple drops back down, then you know that it's time to open up. The first thing I do is I take the cap off, because there might be a second more of steam in there, and you want to make sure all of that pressure is out, and this will open up a big hole. Then you open it up by twisting the handle, and it's very hot at this point, so always lift it away from your face. Always lift your lid away from your face and set it down. At that point, you will have your jars in here with your food. And I didn't bring my thingies. Hang on a second. Yes, you're going for a walk. Okay. So then we have our canning handles. I have used, in an emergency, tongs. So I do not recommend it, but you can use tongs. These are lifters, jar lifters. The black ends are handles, and the round ends are for lifting the jars. And all you do is open them up, grab it around the head of the jar. I tilt it very slightly to get, because there'll be some water on the top of the jars from the steam, and then you're going to set it always on a towel. If you don't set it on a towel and the surface you're setting it on is cold, you will shatter your jars. So always set them on a towel. And then you simply, and you see it works for either wide mouth or narrow mouth. Tilt it, set it on the towel. And you want to give it at least 2 inches in between if you can. It really does work better. One of my readers suggested it, and or subscribers, and so it really does work better to separate them. They cool down a little evener and quicker. And that's it. That's pressure canning. In a little while, we're going to finish the chili. And I still got my distilled water going. And we'll see you later.